In this video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to rough in plumbing underneath of a concrete slab that's for a bathroom that you see here behind me. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This channel is all about building your own house, saving a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get notification every time I release a new video, and hammer that like button for me. That's all I ask in return for making this video. So we got a lot to do today, so let's get started. I'd like for you to note the details to the drawings here. As you can see, I got a 3-inch drain pipe in which I roughed in the first video on this garage build, and this is part 3 of a multi-part series. As you can see, we got our drain pipe coming right in, and this is our drawing for our bathroom, and these are stairs, and this is a sink that's going to be inside than my outdoor kitchen sink. And as far as the exact details of the pipes themselves, if we take a look here at the bathroom details, the dotted lines are the pipe that's going to be underneath the slab. So I already drew this and measured everything out ahead of time, and I put arrows pointing to where each fitting is going to be so I could easily calculate material. And if we zoom in here, if you see that we come over, we're going to branch here with a 45-degree elbow, go over to the sink here after we branch off of that, and then we got our toilet here, and then we got a Combo Wye that's going to go to the outdoor kitchen sink. Then we got a 90-degree long sweep elbow that's going to go to a sink inside of the garage. And again, all this is going to be based off a wall that's going to be going through here. So I just wanted to show you how to calculate all this up ahead of time. Before I start digging for the plumbing, I must first run string lines in order to represent the wall so I know where to dig. And what I'm going to do is just go 6 or 4'6" right off this wall, because I'm going to have a set of stairs in the back. So I'm going to have a wall right beside it. So I know the outside of the wall that's going to be on the inside is going to be 4'6". And I also am going to come 2 foot off that mark because I have a wall that's going to offset for the bathroom according to the plans. So I'm just going to come over 2 foot for that as well. And I'm going to make a mark. And now they make items that attach it into string lines in order to hook to the block, but I'm just going to take an easy way out because I don't have one right now and just run a little tap con on each mark. And now I'm going to do the same on the opposing wall and then hook my string line to it. Now I'm going to hook my string line to that tap con and run it to the first tap con that we made. Loop it around that tap con. Now I'm going to come over to this tap con, and this is going to be my offset wall for the bathroom. Now that gives me a reference to go off of while I'm digging out for these plumbing pipes, and also I need to make sure this isn't off string line. There we go. That looks good. Now that we know where the walls are going this way, we need to get the walls that are going to go this way in order to represent the bathroom corner. And as you can see, our sub panel wire and conduit and our water lines are coming right up through here. So I want to make sure my wall is going to sit right here to house these wires and pipes. So I'm going to measure over off that block wall to the edge of that pipe. So if I go to about 118 inches, which ends up being 9'10", I'm going to come over here 9'10" on this block wall and drive a stake in order to hold the string line so I know where it's going to be. Now I need to mark it over here on that wall. Now I'm just going to put a tap con here. All right, now I'm going to take my string line and go around that tap con and run it over to my stake. Now we know exactly where our walls are going to be, so we can start digging. All right, so now as you can see, we got our string line down here going beside those pipes, and right here is the pipe that's going to be for the drain, and these are our rough walls where they're going to be. So as you can see, we are ready to start digging out some of this dirt. As you can see, we got all the rough digging done. Now what I'm going to do is measure over to where the toilet is going to be and mark it on my string line and also the other drains, so that way we know exactly where we're headed to when we're plumbing. And I know I need to come 39 inches off this string line for the toilet. So I'm going to come up here, just measure right off that string line, 39 inches. All right, so it's going to be right there. And now I know my sink drain has to be 14 inches off this string line. So I know exactly where I'm headed to. And since this is on the other side of the wall, we know we're going to be coming up right here, and it's going to be a 2x6 wall. Here's the 3-inch pipe that's going over to the sewer system. And now I'm going to have to install what's called a clean out tee. And this clean out tee is not going to be functional after the plumbing's done. The reason why I got to put it here is because I need to find a way to hydrostatic test the water lines with water. So in order to do that, I'm going to install this, then the cap comes off, then I got what's called a clean out plug, and this simply just threads right into that clean out like so. And then there's a valve stem here to place air into it. And as you can see, it plugs up the inside of that tee. So if you take it out, as you can see, it's totally opened up after that. Then this goes in, threads in, plugs up the hole after you put air in it. Then we're ready to water test our plumbing. I'm first going to start by taking a Sawzall, and this is a bimetal blade. I found out it cuts PVC pipe much cleaner than using a wood blade. So I'm first going to cut this off as flush as or as straight as and square as I can in order to get a good fit. So I'm going to do that first. All right, now that that's cut off, I'm just going to clean around it in order to get the fitting to be installed onto the pipe. And now I'm going to take a utility knife and just clean right around the edges to deburr it. And the inside is just as important because that can catch hair or whatnot and clog up your drain. So definitely deburr the inside as well. I'm now going to take a paper towel and just clean this pipe really well here on the end. I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean. I'm going to take the cap off this tee. Then we're just going to dry fit it into place like so. And then I'm just going to take a torpedo level and put it on level. Now that I got it setting where I want it, I'm just going to take a marker, make a mark on the fitting, then on the pipe. So that tells me where I got to line up to when I go to put it on with glue. I'm now going to use what's called purple primer and prime the pipe in which the fitting's going on, and also prime the fitting itself on the end that's going to connect to the pipe like so. And I'm now going to use what's called heavy duty PVC cement, and this is going to be for gluing the pipe to the fitting. And now whenever you put this fitting on, you want to start a quarter away from where it needs to be lined up, so that way it gives it a twist in order to make a good glue seal. And be liberal with glue. So we'll go on and then start in a quarter turn. Then we hold it for at least 15 to 20 seconds. All right, now I'm going to release, and I'm just going to put the cap on like so for now. Just keep dirt out until we put the plug in. I'm next going to install what's called a Combo Wye. And it's called a Combo Wye because a typical Y would come up at a 45 and stop here. And then with this other 45 connection on it, it gives us a 90 from this side to this side. So it's a 90-degree turn, even though it's a Y considerably. And now we want to make sure the way it's angled that our drain is going down and sloping towards. You don't want to install this Combo Wye this way. Drain coming in, the water would go this way, then go down and cause a clog eventually. You want to make sure it's turned whichever way it's trying to drain. So this is going to go right here down the trench that we dug this way. So now I'm going to lay this about where it goes, and then I'm just going to measure the distance between here to here, and let's see, it'd be more about right there. And now I know the pipe goes 1.5 inches back into this fitting and 1.5 inches back into this fitting. So if we measure right between, we got 9 5/8. So 9 5/8 plus 3 inches for the 1.5 inches back and 1.5 inches back. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 12 inches and 5/8. So that's going to be the cut we got to make to connect these two. Before I show you how I'm going to cut that pipe, I wanted to show you the two different kinds of PVC pipe there are. If you take a look at this pipe, it has on the writing here, it has this cellular core. Now that's going to be a little bit of an interesting topic because some people claim you should not put this under concrete slab, and some people claim that you should only do the solid. So this stuff's pretty light, And if we take a look at this Schedule 40 pipe, they're both Schedule 40 by the way. This pipe it's heavier, and it ain't because it's longer, it's heavier per foot, and it's because it's solid PVC. It's much more solid in the sense of it's more rigid. So I'm going to be using this underneath my concrete slab. So if you only have the cell core stuff, you might want to check with your local building codes and make sure you can use that underneath the concrete slab. I would like to point out that the pressure rating of the solid PVC is 260 psi, to where the cell core is not for pressure at all. The fastest and best way to cut this pipe is to use a miter saw. And I just got a standard wood blade on it. As you can see, it's for framing, nothing fancy. So I know I got to measure over to my 12 5/8 mark. So I'm just going to take my tape measure, 12 5/8, just as if we were cutting a piece of wood. And now I'm going to get it square with my fence, and I'm just going to cut it just like you are a 2x4 here. So that gave you a perfect cut, and also very little burrs, but I still recommend just going over it real quick just to make sure our edges are nice and smooth. And I made a review video on this miter saw, so check out the card in the top right hand corner of the screen to check out that video. I'm now going to go ahead and glue this pipe into this T. And you just use the same method as we did to install the T to the pipe. In order to get the angle right for this Y when it's installed, I'm going to go ahead and slide it onto the pipe, and then take the 1.5" pipe that's coming off of it and go ahead and connect it into each other, and don't glue anything yet. And then what we're going to do is put our level on this piece of pipe to make sure it's sitting right. Then we're going to mark this to make sure it goes back together where it came off. Now I'm going to take my 4-foot level and place it on this pipe. Take note of the bubble between the lines. I want the bubble heading towards the fixture in which the drain's coming from, so that gives me about a 1/4 inch per foot slope, which is recommended for drain lines. All right, now that that is where we need it, I'm going to do the same thing. Take a marker or a pencil and mark to make sure we line up right wherever we take the pipe off, and then glue it together. Now I'm going to start running the plumbing going through here to the sinks, and I'm going to go ahead and glue all this together just like we did the other fittings, except now we're working with an 1.5" Schedule 40 pipe, because we just have sinks going to this, so they require only an 1.5" pipe. And now this is already angled appropriately because we calculated that earlier, so it should be as simple as gluing and going. So I'm going to go ahead and dry fit it on this end and place it onto this fitting. So that way I know how much I got cut off of it to get to my sink that's over here. Measuring over 93, all right, hold me over here. All right, 93 inches to where it needs to go. So hold off this block to 93 inches. We got to cut about 1 inch off of this pipe. Now I'm going to install my Combo Wye. Again, I'm going to dry fit it on first, then take my little torpedo level. We're going to get it setting perfect. Whatever you do, do not try to eyeball something pointing straight up or sideways. Always use your torpedo level. Now the reason we had to elbow this up is because we had to go up over the footer. So now that we're up over the footer, I'm just going to elbow it this way towards where it's going to hit on the wall over here. All right, now I'm going to set this here to get our elbow. Now I'm going to get my distance for that piece of pipe. And now these go a 3/4 inch back into the pipe, so 10 plus 1.5 inches. So that's going to give me 11.5 inch piece I got to cut for this. After he hands me this piece, I'm actually going to go ahead and deburr it. And I'm going to place a small piece on the end along with the elbow. And I'm going to go ahead and glue the elbow onto the pipe in this case. And the reason why that is a little bit of a tight spot here. So in order to get it installed at the right slope, I'm going to go ahead and dry fit it, and then I'm going to use my torpedo level and get the exact angle that we need to install it. And then after we get the exact angle, I'm going to mark each end with the marker just like we did the other fitting, so that way we don't lose our angle. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue it into place after I do that. All right, I cut a piece that should be the right length. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of dry fit it just to make sure. There it is temporarily. Now Just going to plumb up from the center of that hole or the edge, see where we're at. And yeah, it looks like we should be really good to go into a 2x6 wall right there. So now I'm just going to glue this into place. I know it's difficult to tell the depth here, but the plumbing pipes are about 18 inches below the concrete slab, which is recommended in the area I'm building. And now I know this string line's top of my block and my concrete's going to be 4 inches or so below the block. So I want to be about 2 foot above that. So that way it's going to give me plenty of space to go above, and I'll cut it off later. And now as you can see, that elbowed up, and now it's going right in line with that black line that we made on the string that marked the center. So that is exactly my goal, and it looked like it turned out pretty good. Another thing I wanted to mention, these are long sweep 90s. These are not the little short 90s that's for vent. These are actually the long sweep meant to go in the drains. I now got to bring this drain up through this block wall. So I'm first going to take my level and level over from the ground to that plumbing pipe. So I'm going to get at the right slope that I need. And now I'm going to measure down to this elbow in order, I'd just hold it down to ground if my level was shorter, but it's not. So right there looks good. So I got 6 1/4, so come over here, 6 1/4 down. I'm going to make this mark on the wall. And now from that mark, I'm going to measure 6 1/4 down. So right there is going to be the top of my pipe. So I got to bust this out right at the bottom. In order to make this easy, I got my rotary hammer drill, and I know I'm going to be coming down off this line. So I'm just going to bust out a nice section here and then see if I can plumb it from there. As you will notice here, the blocks are not filled with concrete yet, so running the plumbing before you fill them up with concrete is essential. I'm going to go ahead and get my plumbing pipe back into this block that I knocked out and elbow up, come out through the top of this block. Again, we're going to use a long sweep 90. I just hold it back where it belongs. Get a good measurement here. 34 at 1.5 inches, so 35.5 inch piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this 90 on first. I'm going to go ahead and prime this real quick because I'm going to glue this as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and prime this elbow because it's going back into the wall now on both ends. It's going to be very difficult to try to do this later. All right, so that's going to go back into the wall like so. I'm going to glue it back out here. But first, I'm going to make sure I set this 90 way I want it first. So as you can see, even back there, I set it nice and level. And now I'm just going to mark it out here where I want it to be when I glue it. I'm now going to go ahead and glue this end. And now after checking this my level, I need to prop this up just a little bit. So I'm going to put a rock under it for now, just to hold it where I need it. So let me check with my little torpedo level there. That looks pretty good for now, and I'll double check that again before I backfill. I'm now going to deburr that pipe like the rest of them. And now, like I was telling you earlier, I can't get back there and prime really well. I'm going to try to, but it's a little tight. And then I'm going to glue this down through the top into that elbow. We got our plumbing done on this end. Now we got to finish where the toilet and the sink go for the bathroom. I'm now going to work on getting this toilet and the sink plumbed. I'm going to come off this string line over here 39 inches as well, even though this ain't the wall, but it's going to help me reference where I need to be as far as the toilet flange itself when it comes up through the floor. So I know I need to line up from that black mark on that string line to this black mark, and then it's going to be in the center of that. And I'm now going to take a 3-inch Combo Wye, and it's going to be a nice long sweep right here. And I'm going to try to line it up just by eye with those black marks I made on the string line. And that looks roughly where it's going to set. And now I'm going to take what's called a 22.5 degree elbow, and this is going to point right here towards this 3-inch fitting that we installed earlier. So it's going to lay somewhere like so. So right now, again, this is just rough setting here so we get an idea. So to start out with, I'm going to go ahead and just cut a piece that fits here. So we're going to cut this one. We got 8 inches plus the 3, so we're going to cut this 11 inches. I'm now going to go ahead and dry fit all this together and see where we're at here. And eyeballing it, that actually looks pretty close to where we want it. So now I'm just going to measure the pipe for here. So this needs to be a 5-inch piece to make that connection. And now I'm going to dry fit this together. And you never want to glue any of this until you dry fit it when it has to be this precise. All right, that looks like a good start. And now let me make sure I'm the right distance off the block. I gotta be 4'10" off this block. Looks like we're definitely long. So we gotta bring this back to here. So I'm actually just going to cut 4 inches off this pipe. All right, now I'm going to dry fit all that together again. There we go, that works. We're at 4'10". If you have never worked with PVC cement, you will notice quickly that it will set up really fast when it's hot and dry out, and it's going to set up much slower when it's cooler. So just keep that in mind. So if you have a lot to glue together, be sure to work relatively fast. So that looks really nice where we have it there. And next, I got to put a elbow over to the sink. Well, not an elbow, another combination wire. And we're going to go head right towards where the sink's going. I'm going to start by putting on a small piece of pipe just so we can get it nice and level. And now this really can be a short piece of pipe because my sink is clear over here. And actually I feel like that's pretty darn close where we want it right there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a small 3 or 4 inch piece that's going to head towards that wall. Remember, just like any other DIY project, be sure to check your local building codes and be compliant with the codes. Now I'm going to dry fit this into place and then take my little torpedo level, about right actually, right there, maybe a little bit down. All right, that looks good there. Now I'm going to take and hold it there for a second and take this tester piece off. I'm now going to put a long sweep 90-degree in order to go up through by this wall for venting, and also I can install plumbing in the upstairs if I ever want to, but for now this is just going to be for venting. So I am going to angle that up right there and measure the distance between and cut our piece of pipe. I would like to take a moment to talk about the cost of this project. The plumbing fittings that you see for these 3-inch pipes average about $15 a fitting, and you can get them from various places. You can get them from Amazon, Lowe's, Home Depot. And the price of the Schedule 40 pipe that you see here is about $40 a pipe, anywhere from $35 to $40 is what I've seen in my local building supply stores. So just keep that in mind. So this project cost about $250. Now that we got everything pointing up, we just got to cut our pipes that are going to extend up above the concrete slab to tie into later. Now that all the plumbing's done underneath of the slab, I'm going to come back to that test tee that we installed earlier. And this is also called a clean out tee. So we're going to take this off first. I'm then going to take the test tee balloon plug. And this is very easy to use. You simply thread it down into this test tee like so. And you only want to hand tighten this plug into place. And I'll put a link to this in the description below if you want to purchase one for your project. All right, now that's hand tightened on well, we're going to remove this valve stem cover. And you want to put in about 35 pounds of pressure in order to make the seal. So I got a bicycle pump here that has a gauge in order to tell how much pressure I got in here. So I'm first going to hook it on just like you do any other valve stem. And we're going to start pumping it up to seal off the pipe. All right, we're full there. And now I need to go get my water hose and fill up all this pipe full of water. I'm now just going to take a water hose from the nearest water source and come over to the shortest stub up through the concrete to where it's going to be, because if you fill this one up, it's going to drain out of here. So just save yourself a little bit of time and come to the lowest one and just start filling it up from there. Okay, we are all full here. So we're going to let this fluctuate a little bit to fill in any air pockets. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put some more water in it. All right, so how this works is I'm going to call in the plumbing inspection, and when the inspector comes out, he's going to look into this pipe to make sure it's holding water while he's here inspecting everything else. And if it is, we're good to go. I'm just going to let this set up overnight in order to see if it holds overnight, and if it does, we're definitely good. I went ahead and cleaned up all the tools that were hanging around here to do all this. So this has been setting for well over 15-20 minutes. As you can see, the water's still right at the top. So we're definitely going to pass our inspection as far as making sure we're watertight. And now I would recommend you go through just to double check everything to make sure you do have the proper drop one last time. And also take a shovel, and I'm going to backfill right around the pipe, so that way it's on a nice comfortable base, so whenever this is all filled in, it doesn't shift around and move. All right, so there it is. This is the final product before the backfilling. But if you take a look, these water lines, in case you're wondering, will not be underneath of the slab. They're coming up right through this 3-inch white pipe, and they're just tucked down to that conduit for now, just hold it into place. But they're going to run in the walls to get to the fixtures, so that way if I have to get to them later, I don't have to go under the concrete to get to them. And also, as you can see, I backfilled everything with the gravel, so that's going to give it a nice bed. And then after the inspection is done, I'm going to put gravel over top of the pipes before the backfilling, just so you know. I'd like for you to take note how this vent is going to be going up through this 6-inch wall, and the sink behind it is as well. So that's what that string line was for. Same thing goes for this water line. As you can see, it's right inside of that string line. If we take a look over here, then clearly this one coming up through the block wall is going right up through the center of the wall as well. After all the plumbing was passed and we're good to backfill, and we removed the test plug and replaced it with the cap on that test tee, we're now going to backfill with gravel around those pipes, and be sure not to get any gravel down the pipes as you're filling in around, especially when you're using something like a skid steer like we did here. This is what it looked like after all the gravel was graded around the pipes. As you can see, we got a clean looking job and we're ready to prepare for concrete. If you would like to see how I installed this drain pipe over to the sewer, or if you want to see this video series, check out this playlist or check out this video. It'll help you out.